So after our overview of recent history on the internet, we have a session today about the Innotribe Challenge, which took place in St. Petersburg, and some of the lessons that we can learn about how the Russian Fintech ecosystem can participate and work together in Cybus and other forums with the worldwide banking industry. So I think what we can do to start is maybe have a short movie on how the Innotribe Challenge happened in St. Petersburg. Afterwards, I'll call the colleagues on stage, and then we have a few questions, and I'll be repeating this. Don't hesitate to ask questions. This is an interactive session. It's Innotribe. So let's have the movie, please.
That was a lot. We've been through many coaches and run it all, done with Russians, with the Silicon Valley guys, but you guys did a really good job.
That experience was really intense, but it was very helpful.
Thank you for your experience, for your delivering us this experience. You just push us on the global level.
You pushed us through, you help us with the presentation, with the pitch especially. You know how you're on stage, what you talk, and that's fantastic. There is an opportunity because they all come here to talk about the future of Russian banking, the Russia in a global economy, how we're gonna strive, how we're gonna respond to challenges. So I think that's very important to be a part of that conversation.
This is a very good opportunity, not only just to listen and to understand how it can be developed, but also a good opportunity to collaborate.
They are trying to cooperate and trying to build networking, so it's very useful. Don't be afraid, we are the innovators and we should act like this.
The advice will be to not to close yourself here, but be open to work with everybody else outside.
They should think globally and they should listen to their customer. That's very important.
So can I have on stage, please, Maria, Svetlana, and Michael from the 3 winning startups. So during the Innotribe competition, our poor friends here had to go through a very difficult drilled coaching session. And one of the things we learned was how to do a 10-second elevator pitch of what it is that you're doing, not for venture capitalists, but for bankers. So let's have today the opportunity to tell us what the name of your startup is and what you do in 10 seconds, and then we'll go to the questions. So let's start from the left.
Okay. Os Forensics helps financial institutions to reduce digital fraud costs and risk by automating the KYC process with photo, video, and biometry analysis. We have already saved our customers $500,000 and prevent digital fraud cases.
Outstanding.
Okay. I'm Michael Popov. I'm founder of TalkBank. TalkBank is a digital bank for a new generation. We provide full banking service via messengers. For example, you can say hello to open account, pay your bills, send money to your mom, and so on.
Okay. Yeah.
Hello, Maria Wichmann, founder of Scarista, and Scarista is a risk management service for non-bank lenders, and from now it's a risk management service for banks too. We help to reduce losses of their non-payment of the debts, and we increase revenue by 30% of our clients, and we commit for results, and we provide guarantee for our service. That's it.
Outstanding. I think we all understand what you're doing, and we all know how it is that you won from a set of 160 startups to 10 finalists and then to 3 people here at Cybus. So I think my first question, and maybe Svetlana, you could have the first answer to this one, but colleagues, do feel free to interact. What do you think the focus of Russian fintech is? when talking to your peers and competitors? What are the main focuses?
The main focus, first of all, of fintech, just now if we are speaking about the new technologies, disruptive technologies, is definitely just identification of the customers, blockchain, and cryptocurrency. If we are just simply look at the whole market of technologies, first of all, innovation, what does mean innovation? Innovation becomes when technology can be developed. And in that case, I should say that the ecosystem of Russia is quite a very brilliant place because we have, on one hand, government support and funds. On the other hand, we have VCs, private and corporate funds, which can support the development of technologies and definitely to push the acceleration programs to new young companies, which help banks and financial institutions be disruptive as well and to develop themselves. And it's very cool that when you can just simply cooperate with corporates.
Okay. All right. Any other focus areas that you see?
Well, I think the biggest innovation in Russia right now is to grow up innovators, and our government is everything for that. So we have a brilliant ecosystem right now.
I think blockchain hype.
The blockchain hype. Okay, I think we've had a bit of that all week. All right, then maybe that's the areas of focus of the country. What are the specific challenges? And maybe, Michael, you could start on this one.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to say about intellectual property rights. Weak protection leads us to the situation when your competitor can copy your solution without liability. The second difficulty lies in the fact that banks prefer to do things themselves. Without fintech company. But we see that the situation is changing, and now a lot of banks attract fintech company to work together or even buy them.
Even buy them, okay.
Next difficult is insufficient numbers of exits for investors. It's don't start investments mechanism to make more deals in investments. But for example, TalkBank recently closed the seed round. And in the ending, several words about struggle for talent. Because I can say that fintech is easy to attract creative and talented people in companies. Because young people don't want to work in traditional bank.
Okay.
And for example, TalkBank expanding our team, and people want to work in our company, but they don't work in traditional bank.
Okay. All right. Any other specific challenges that you would underline?
Well, from my point of view, the biggest challenge is to find a good idea to make a startup, because behind of good idea, you always have a real problem, not an imaginary problem, but to find a problem, you need to be familiar with the system and with the structure and with the processes. So it's very difficult to do unless you are not working in a company or in a bank. But if you are working in a bank or in a company, you're becoming very lazy and you don't want to move. You need the courage to start your business. So this is, I think, the problem, to find a brilliant idea.
But I think it's not enough to find a brilliant idea. You need to solve problems of your customers.
Yeah, right.
It should be business-oriented as well.
So this is the brilliant idea. It means that it's based on the real problem, and it can bring you money, and money to your investors. And also it should be international.
Well, I should say that, for example, if any new technologies comes to the world, that means that the markets couldn't be ready, or even the regulation process couldn't be ready as well. And in that case, that's very great. For example, in Russia, we have an opportunity to work with a regulator director because there is a special environment where the new technologies can be piloted. And that's also good because for a startup to just simply to develop the market is very, very hard, even it's new. So support is very important as well.
Yeah, from the government and from, for example, last month we met with Central Bank and we had support from them, and it was really amazing event for us, like a startup.
Yeah, I would echo that. It's funny that we hear about, on the one hand, lazy bankers with many bankers in the room. But also, we had yesterday at one of the panel discussions upstairs, a very senior Russian banker who said, if I were 30 years younger, there is no way I would work in a bank. So I guess what you're saying is that when searching for talent, that challenge is sort of being helped by the current environments and by the current reputation of banks with young people. So then continuing, and before we open the questions to the audience, and this is a broad one, right? But if you were to look firstly at yourselves as startups, and secondly at the environment with the accelerators and your competitors within the Russian startup world or fintech startup world, what else do you think could be done for you to cooperate more broadly with the international banking environment? I mean, Cybus is once a year, but what else can you do? What are the areas? And maybe starting with yourselves as companies, as startups, and then looking broader. So maybe we start with you.
Well, if you want to offer something to a banks, first of all, you have to amaze them. And then they will come and tell you about the problem they need to solve. And to amaze them, you need to be unique. You need to have a breakthrough technology. You need to do something really different from others at low cost, and you need to generate revenue at the same time. And also, you need to have a specialization. And your technology should be difficult to repeat, because bank can repeat anything. So, for example, my company does, we do borrower assessment for non-bank lenders. Our clients working with bad credit people. So it's very difficult to find the normal person to provide the loan. So our focus is on bad credit people and bank people, and we are helping them to get back on track. And now we got a few contracts with the banks because they want to enlarge their credit portfolio, and they're looking for such kind of segment. We have 30% of population of this segment. This is what I can say. And my colleagues, I think they're following the same strategy.
Yeah, you are quite right. I would like to say some words about us forensics. So it depends on, it's very important that you have a very good product which can solve problems of your customers. And due to this, we have already customers not only in Russia, but also in Europe, in Vietnam, in Africa and Mexico as well. So that's the thing that can just simply say that Russian startup are not only Russian. Russian startup can make the global product as well.
TalkBank is a very cool solution for millennials, and we're going to do business in Europe, and we're looking for partners from the traditional banks who want to attract new customers, new clients from age 16 and older. And I think it's a good opportunity for traditional banks and fintech to do something cool, something interesting for clients.
Okay. 16 and up to how much? Do I fall into your...
Speak about our customers. Now we have customers till 16, from 16 till 60.
Okay.
But if we speak with customers, they say about us unusual but convenient, because it's very simple.
Yeah.
All people speak with the friends through the messengers, and we do the same.
Understood. Unusual but convenient. Okay, and I think maybe one question I'd like to follow up on, because I think it's important, that what you mentioned briefly about intellectual property rights, right? So what do you think, and we have people from Russia in the audience, but what do you think can be done to make sure that that risk of, the banks can copy, as you said it, what can be done to address that? Is that at a legal level? Is that at the level of just, behavior, of habits? What can be done to address that?
I think
If you had a magic wand,
yeah.
you could
I
change
think government need to decrease requirements to process of intellectual properties rights. Because, for example, to do something with the logo or something else, you need to spend 1 year to register this situation.
Okay.
And maybe blockchain technology can bring us something simple way to register of intellectual properties.
Okay, that's interesting. Then, yes, I think there's a question already from the audience.
Yeah, hi, Michael. This is more a question specifically for you. Of the 3 startups here today, TalkBank are the ones who have the most directly consumer-facing offering. So recently you were talking about my customers are 16 to 60. Are your customers the users or are your customers the banks? How does that work in Russia? Is it better for a B2B model or a B2C model?
Okay, good question. For us, it's a B2C model. We attract new customers to traditional bank which work with us. And of course, it's B2C. But if we say about B2B, for example, for traditional bank who work with us, it's a way to attract new customers. For example, a lot of people who take our cards, comprehending cards, they don't know about these traditional banks. The first time they hear about us, what is it bank? Yeah? But it's B2C model. But if we speak about Europe market, we think about B2B model too.
And I think maybe your model might be more B2B orientated, if I remember.
Definitely, we provide our solution for banks' payment system for insurance companies, and we are totally B2B.
Okay. All right. And any other questions, burning questions in the audience? Yes. See.
Alexei Maslov. A question to the panelists. I assume that it's the first time for you to be in Cybers. Have you had already any promising meetings? What is the most interesting for you here?
Why are you looking at me? Well, okay.
Left to right.
So, first of all, this is a good opportunity to meet customers directly, because our solution is for banks. And another one is to understand what kind of companies already existing on the market, what kind of market here, even in the United States, because when we are thinking to be global, to be a vendor in digital fraud prevention solution, that's important for us. So not only just customers, but also partners and also knowledge.
Yeah. It's first time for us on the Cybers, and we expected to see more solution about B2C sectors for customer sectors. But unfortunately, we see only B2B solution. It's not interesting for us because we're looking for some interesting idea how to work with ending customers, how to improve this experience and so on. My opinion.
Well, I'm first time on Cybers, and I came here to look for colleagues. And unfortunately, I couldn't find any risk management services here. Maybe it's not so important because banks are moving to a transaction model and deposit model, and they are not lend they don't lend anymore. Something wrong is going on for me. So, but anyway.
I mean, about banks not lending?
Yeah, because because what I see here is just they worry about security, and I saw a lot of service providers like payment systems, right? But as I believe that lending business for the bank is one of the important
core business.
Yeah, it's a core business, but no risk management services here.
So
amazing. It's a very interesting tendency.
Yeah, I think that might have to do with the history of Sibos, but also in terms of where you might meet colleagues for the good ideas. Sibos is on various floors this year, so we have a whole floor of startups, including Canadian startups, and it's floor 600, thank you. So that's up a couple of floors. So I think, we've been rehearsing a lot. Right? So I think you'll be able in the rest of the week to find to find colleagues. And as far as banks that lend and don't lend, I think that's actually another big difference, with the prime rate being here and here, between Russia and I would say, well, Central Europe. That might have an impact on the kind of representatives and focuses, but those things are cyclical. So I think we have time for one last question if I look at the clock right. Otherwise, I have a few in reserve, of course.
And I have a question to the audience. May I?
Yes, of course.
So, ladies and gentlemen, can we understand how many banks do we have here? Could you please raise hands?
Banks.
Banks. Thank you. And do we have any startups as well?
Or startup library, maybe.
Only one hand. Two. We know you. So I don't want to count you. Thank you.
All right. Yes.
Maybe we can ask a question.
Yeah.
Audience.
May I ask a question? I'm sorry. As I'm from startup, right, from TalkBank, may I ask a question to you, Matthew, then?
Yes, of course.
Since you you see the Russian side, you've been working with Russia for a long time, and you're from Canada, so Canadian. Okay. So how do you think is changing the attitude of Canadians towards Russians, or attitude of Americans, or attitude of Europeans towards Russians?
So I have 10 seconds if I look at the clock. So I left Canada when I was 15. So the World Wide Web didn't exist, I think, at the time, talking about whether I'm in your age category. But how has attitude changed? As a broad statement, I would say that banks cooperate. I was actually working a lot with the economic and commercial people of the Canadian Embassy in Moscow, preparing for Sibos. And it's true of Canada, it's true of Belgium. I also hold a Belgian passport. The willingness to cooperate at the bank level and at the business level is very, very high. So, and the rest, the politics that Gottfried was talking about, maybe that's more fluctuating, but the willingness to cooperate is very high. And I think, just very broadly, as a consequence of growing globalization over the past 30 or so years, that is different. The openness to telecommunications, this isn't something new, but yeah, there's a lot of interest at the level of traditional banking, maybe a little bit less lending, and at the level of fintechs. So I think that there's a good opportunity for you and the next startups to come to Sibos and to work with InnoTribe, and in whatever format it is, keep coming, and we'll make sure that we put you in front of the right people, including this week.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm way over time at this point, but thank you everyone, and really congratulations, because in closing, the competition to get here was really tough. We started with 160 startups from all of Russia CIS, 10 finalists at the central bank's keynote event. Very hard coaching for a full week, and then the 3 winners are here. I think it was worth it. I think you'll agree.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.